So we're going to talk about saving seed from tomatoes. What do you need to know about tomatoes before you plant them? Well, not a lot, because they're self-pollinators and they're really easy to save seed from, except there is a very rare form that has an exerted stigma, which means that a little bit pokes out the end of the cone at the end of the flower. So it's pretty easy to identify. You just need to look closely at the flowers. If you do find one with an exerted stigma, you'll need to keep them 15 metres away from any other tomato variety that has an open flower, so that you don't get any crossing. But otherwise, you're good to go.
So with the closed flower varieties, keeping seed from one plant will give you viable seed. If you want to maintain good genetics, it's better to plant 5 to 10 plants and keep the seed from them. If you're the custodian of a very special heirloom variety, you need to grow 20 plants to save seed.
For those that you're not worried about them crossing, you can have them just 3 metres apart.
Cool.
You don't need to do anything special when you're growing for seed. You just grow them exactly the same as you would if you were growing them to eat.
When you're saving seed from tomatoes, you need to select the plants that look the healthiest. They're disease-free. The plant form is like what you are expecting, and the colour of the tomato is what you want.
So we harvest the tomatoes for seed when they're really ripe for eating. So you want them to be just slightly soft to the touch, but otherwise it's the same point at which you would harvest them for eating. Really nice and ripe.
It's best to save seed from early fruit, as this tends to be the biggest and the best fruit that the plant will make. As the plant ages, the fruit gets smaller and is less preferable.
So once you've harvested your tomatoes, then you need to process them to get the seeds out. You want to do that within a day or so of picking them, because you want to get to them before they rot. You can either do this very easily just by squeezing the seed out onto a piece of paper. That works for many people. But a better way, particularly if you want to share the seed with others, is to use the wet ferment method. So the wet ferment process is better if you want to share the seed. You're removing the gel sac, which has a germination inhibitor in it, so your germination will be faster later on when you plant the seed. And you're also removing the potential for disease to be carried along with that fleshy part of the seed. So you're getting rid of all of that material.
What you do is you take a tomato, cut it in half, and squeeze the seed out of the tomato into a glass. You let this ferment for 24 hours. The seed should sink to the bottom of the glass. This is a sign that it is working. Pour some water into your glass and give it a swish around. Then start pouring the mushy, watery stuff out into the sink and let the seed settle again. Repeat this process with a little more water, each time removing a little bit more of the mushy, fleshy stuff, until your seed looks nice and clear. Pour the seeds out into a sieve. Give it a little wash under the running tap so that you get all that gel coating off your seed. Then you can place your seed onto a tea towel and spread the seed around so that as much of the seed is as individual as possible. Leave your seed on the tea towel to dry, and every now and again go and give your seed a little tickle so that they don't clump together and they dry as individually as possible. Leave it to dry for at least a week.
So storing tomato seeds is actually really easy. You don't really need to do a lot special except make sure that they're really, really dry. So after a week of drying on your tea towel, you probably still want to keep them in a paper bag for a while until you're quite sure that they're dry all the way through. And then you just need to put them in your jar and keep them in a cool, dark, dry location. Generally, you don't need to do anything about pest control for tomato seed. there isn't anything that would be laying eggs in those tomato seeds, so they'll be nice and safe.
And that's all you need to know about saving tomato seeds.